sounds like a stupid question.
Probably is, because, yeah, go ahead. Skilled managers equals high morale, which equals all that cool stuff that you cannot pay for and you can't punish for. When you close off that feedback channel, you are not going to be able to hear the truth. In the first microseconds, your brain can't tell the difference between physical danger and what we call social danger.
I'm pissed off at you.
Me, specifically?
Well, just because you're my boss and all.
Employees tend to get promoted until they reach their level of incompetence. Go forward and don't suck.
Hey, beautiful people out there, our lovely listeners of this podcast, the Managing with Mind and Heart podcast. Normally, I'm recording these with my co-host, partner in business, partner in crime, father, Mike Nash. But he's not here today. It's just me, Ethan Nash. Today, I want to spend just a little bit of time in this Minisode just revisiting, reviewing, refreshing what we call our management radar. Now, we've done some episodes on the management radar where we dig in a lot more detail than I'm going to go into here. So I encourage you, if you want the full version, to go listen to those episodes, and I will link to them in the show notes here. But here's the deal. If you're a leader, if you're a manager, right, you have people that report to you, meaning you manage and lead other people. What are you thinking about as you prepare for work for the day? Now, obviously, you're going to be thinking about the tasks that you need to get done today and stuff like that, which is important. But what we encourage every manager that we work with is, if you can get these 6 game changers on your radar each and every day, it is going to change the way you show up as a leader. If you keep these 6 things on your radar consistently and take them seriously, you're going to show up in a way in which you demonstrate care and respect, you build morale, you build cohesive teams, and you build engagement. And engagement is that golden egg we're all looking for from the teams that we lead and manage. It's what leads to all those cool things like high productivity, high performance, creativity. So these 6 game changers, call them your management radar. Again, if you're thinking about work during your morning routine, add these to your radar. Now, to even take this a step further, imagine if every leader in your organization had these things on their radar. It can completely change a culture for the positive. I've seen it here. Us here at Nash Consulting have seen it many times. When all leaders of an organization take these 6 game changers seriously, sky's the limit. So the first game changer to get on your radar before you come to work each day or log on to work each day. Number 1 is, to be an effective leader, I need to be growing as a human being. Becoming healthier versions of ourselves requires a commitment to personal growth. Look, here's the reality. Here's a truth bomb for you all. None of us are fully aware of our impact on others or our growth opportunities in general. But look, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know what I don't know about how I show up and how I impact those around me. And some of the impacts that I have that I'm not aware of, they're positive impacts. Right? That happens all the time. And some of the ways I impact people that I'm not aware of, well, they're less than positive impacts. Right? I don't know my impact on people much of the time, which is why we have to have a focus as a leader on our continual personal growth and personal development. Right? To be an effective leader, I need to be growing. To be at my best and to be an effective manager or parent or friend, I need to be growing and working on uncovering my blind spots. Because I really believe that if you are a leader that is just kind of stuck in your personal growth, right? You're just not interested in personal growth anymore for whatever reason. You're not going to be able to hold the space for other people. People that don't care about being healthier human beings won't make adjustments on how they impact people around them. And that's going to affect the team, that's going to affect the morale. Right? It's going to be hard for you to hold space for other people to grow if you're not focused on growing yourself. It's going to be difficult for you to have empathy for other people's blind spots if you have no awareness of your own. And it's really going to cause you to get defensive in the face of negative feedback. And we can't afford to be defensive when our employees give us feedback. It's one of the biggest ways to kill motivation and harm the morale of the team. So again, number one thing on our management radar, to be an effective manager or leader, I need to be growing as a human being. Number two, morale really matters. And it's mostly my job as a manager of my team. Now again, we've done many episodes on morale. I'll link to some episodes that specifically deep dive into what morale is, how leaders can go about building it, etc., etc. But the main points here is that morale, high morale on your team, equals all those cool things you can't pay people for and you can't punish people for. Stephen Covey once said, I know we quote him a lot on here, we like him, but he said, and I'm paraphrasing, you can pay people for their backs, you can pay people for their hands, but they volunteer their hearts and they volunteer their brains. Meaning, I'll show up to work to do the basics, but if I'm going to truly invest, well, you know what? I'll make that decision and you can't pay me for it. And I'm not going to volunteer my heart and my mind if it's a low morale environment. So again, morale really matters. It gets all those cool things that we want on our team, right? High morale is how we get high engagement. And that's how we get things, as I mentioned previously, like high productivity, teamwork, high performance, creativity, positive attitudes. High morale is at the root of what we're looking for on our teams. So it really, really matters. Morale is not this, what some people think of as this kind of touchy-feely idea, no big deal. It's a really big deal. And the thing is, it's mostly your job as a manager of a team to build morale. People's morale is most directly affected by their immediate manager. You've all probably heard this before, but most exiting employees aren't quitting their job or the organization, they're quitting their direct manager. Now, when you look at where workplace morale comes from, maybe around 10% of someone's morale in the workplace comes from their individual outlook. Maybe 10 to 12% comes from, the coworkers that they work with, the good or not so good people they see or work with every day. And maybe around 15% of their morale comes from the actual work they do, right? Do they enjoy it? Is it somewhat challenging without it being over challenging where they feel totally incompetent, right? Do they find meaning in their work, right? Is it important? Is the organization that they're working for successful at some level? So the work they do, it's about 15% of their morale. And around 65% of morale comes from leadership. And again, from someone's direct supervisor or manager. So this is the second thing to get on your management radar. Write it down on a sticky note. Morale really matters, and it's mostly your job as a manager. I would say this might be, if I had to pick a most important one, this might be the most important points of our 6 major concepts here. You as a leader have to own the fact that the morale of the people you manage mostly rests on your shoulders. And that's a lot of responsibility. But it's also highly meaningful work if you choose to embrace this. Now, of course, employee morale is impacted by so many different management factors that it's hard to know where to begin. We have several episode series on the top 15 management skills. I'll link to those in the show notes. That's a really good place to start. All of those skills are about building morale and engagement on your teams. So if you're following the plot, number 1 is to be an effective manager, I need to be growing as a human being. Number 2, morale really, really matters, and it's mostly your job. And number 3, great management involves demonstrating that I have my employees' best interests at heart. This one's really important. Obviously, these are all important. But think about it. What does it feel like for your manager to have your best interest at heart? There's this psychological contract that you have with each and every one of your employees. And the contract is this: the more you invest in me, the more willing and able I am to volunteer my heart and my brain into this team. At the end of the day, we're human beings and we seek safety. And when a person is in a relationship with someone who has authority over them, i.e. their boss, that person is going to do what they need to do to keep themselves safe. And if they have a manager who they don't believe has their best interest at heart, it can be terrifying, consciously or subconsciously. And they're just not going to be able to bring their best selves to work each and every day. They have to know you have their best interests at heart for them to volunteer their heart and mind. And according to a recent survey, they found that when employees feel cared about by their managers, 60% plan to stay at their company for at least 3 years. 90% are likely to recommend this organization as a great place to work. 94% say they feel personally engaged in their work when they feel cared about. Here's the biggie. 94% say they have well-being in their life. 94% say they have well-being in their life when they feel cared about by their leaders. Think about that. Well-being. We're not just talking about work performance or productivity or achieving our team goals. We're talking about people's well-being as human beings on this planet. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You as a manager, you have a lot of responsibility for the overall well-being of the people you manage. And again, that's a huge responsibility. So you're not just in the business of managing people, you're also in the business of making people's lives better if you choose to embrace this and take this seriously. And I think that's a pretty cool job if you're up for that challenge. Just remembering how important your role is for improving people's lives will change the way you show up as a leader. You have an amazing opportunity to do good in people's lives. And so what are you going to do with that opportunity? McKinsey also found that relationships with managers is the top factor in employees' job satisfaction, which is the second most important determinant of employees' overall well-being. Just to put an exclamation mark on that. So again, number 3 is great management involves demonstrating that I have my employees' best interests at heart. And again, that's important because these are human beings that you manage. And a great side benefit is that by doing so, by demonstrating that you have their best interests at heart, they're more likely to invest back into you, into the team. Number 4 for a management radar. Managing people involves a specific set of deliverables, meaning a specific set of management skills. Remember how I said that morale is mostly your job as a manager? Well, it's not just the presence of a manager that builds morale. It's skilled managers that equals high morale, that equals all that cool stuff we can't pay for and we can't punish for. And so what are those skills? Well, that's a big question. And at some level, this whole podcast is dedicated to those management skills. Again, I'll link to the episode on the top 15 management skills because it's our belief through our experience as a consulting firm and through our research that these top 15 management skills are the biggest bang for your buck in terms of building high morale, high engaged teams. These top 15 management skills, these are the specific set of deliverables that we're talking about that are fundamental to being a successful manager, being a successful leader. I'll briefly rattle off each of the 15 management skills here, but again, go listen to the episode for a deeper dive into each one. The 15 are show caring and respect, advocate for your team, communicate, be fair and equitable, involve others in decisions, be collaborative, give autonomy and trust, ask for and be open to feedback, deal with problems and concerns, be approachable, give recognition and thanks, hold people accountable, be available and responsive, follow through and follow up, make your expectations clear, and finally, provide resources and training. Now, obviously, those are high level, they're vague. I mean, the core of our leadership development program that we brought into many organizations are centered around these 15 management skills. And we work with leaders over the course of 5 or 6 days on really helping them build the tangible skills and behaviors to carry out each one of these deliverables, to carry out each one of these top 15 management skills. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about that leadership development program, you can visit our website at nashconsulting.com or just send us an email, contact@nashconsulting.com. So again, number 4 for our management radar is managing people involves a specific set of deliverables, those deliverables being those top 15 management skills. Number 5, adaptive skills are the most important skills. Again, we've done a whole episode on adaptive skills. We'll link to those episodes in the show notes. So I'll be brief on this one. Adaptive skills are the most important skills. Adaptive skills are closely related to emotional IQ. And they're the foundation for building strong relationships in life and in work. One definition of emotional IQ is the ability to identify one's own and others' emotions and then make good choices based on that information. Adaptive skills are those good choices you make on that information. And guess what? Which one is more important for our long-term success in life? Intelligence or emotional intelligence? It's a rhetorical question, folks. It's not even close. Most experts put the ratio around 70-30 in favor of EQ. And that's good news. Take the skill of listening so people feel cared about and respected. Would we agree that that is a fundamental skill for building strong relationships and dealing with people in life or in work? Yeah, we would all agree. How about the ability to receive feedback non-defensively, even when we're feeling defensive? Because we're humans and we get defensive with feedback. But the ability to not show up defensively is the adaptive skill. How about the ability to give feedback in a way that keeps you connected relationally with that person, lowers their defenses, while still communicating clearly? That's an adaptive skill. And it's these adaptive skills, these type of emotional IQ skills, that are most important. There's a whole lot more I could say on adaptive skills. Go listen to those episodes. I'm linking in the show notes. Oh, and by the way, remember that number 1 on this management radar is to be an effective manager or leader, I need to be growing as a human being. Well, when I say need to be growing as a human being, it's really these adaptive skills that we're talking about. The way I show up, the way I treat people, the way I react, the way I respond to others. Those are the areas we should be growing and developing in. And finally, that leads us to number 6, our final game changer for our management radar. In order to increase psychological safety, I must manage my power differential. A lot to unpack here. Again, I'm going to link to psychological safety episode in the show notes, as well as the power differential episode in the show notes. But here's the thing. Psychological safety is the ability, the freedom to speak up, share concerns, disagree, be authentic and vulnerable, get some things wrong, make mistakes without fear of being punished or judged in the group that you're in. And one of the biggest ways to build psychological safety on a work team is the manager managing their power differential. It's not the only way to build psychological safety, but it's one of the ways that are within your control as a leader that has a huge impact on the psychological safety of your team. Now, in brief, the power differential is essentially the felt difference in authority between any two levels on an organizational chart. The bottom line here is when we're in a relationship with someone who has authority over us, we do what we can to keep ourselves safe. The power differential is always present between two different levels of authority in an organization. It's something that's felt, and it's only felt by one of those two people, the one at the lower level, meaning it's going to be felt by your employees. And so we're sensitive to this power differential when we're looking up at the people that have authority over us, because we're trying to keep ourselves safe. And so we ignore the power differential at our peril because it's felt by our employees. Even if you have stories in your head like, well, I'm a nice person, my people like me, you know what, I don't have a lot of authority as their manager. Guess what? It's still felt. And so we have to manage our power differential, because if we exaggerate our power, it's going to be a fear-based environment, and that's what's going to harm our psychological safety. Now, at the same time, we're managers, and we sometimes have to use our authority. So we have to figure out how to manage this differential in a healthy way. Because look, if you eliminate your power differential, right, ignore your power differential, that's going to cause some problems on your team. You think or do or say, you know what, I'm never going to give you corrective feedback. I'm never going to give you firm directive. I'm never going to set structure for you. I'm never going to make a decision that you don't like. And you know what, we're going to sit together and badmouth my boss by the water cooler because it's this, let's pretend I'm not the boss. And you can see how damaging this will be to a team over time. By ignoring your power differential, you actually harm psychological safety in a variety of ways. Now, this eliminating your power differential thing, I mean, we see this most commonly with new supervisors. I've been here, or when people are managing people they used to be friends with. But over time, you're going to lose accountability. And when you lose accountability by eliminating your power differential, you're ultimately going to harm the psychological safety of the whole team. Now, on the other end of this spectrum with the power differential, we exaggerate it. And that's very damaging. The more you overemphasize your power differential as a person in authority, the more scary and unapproachable you become. And ultimately, the less effective you are as a manager. So we're looking for the sweet spot, which is right in the middle, which is moderate your power differential. Leverage your power differential in a healthy way. And that's how you can build psychological safety. Now, quickly, think about some ways in which you would be exaggerating your power differential and therefore creating a lack of psychological safety. I can think of a few. How about using imperatives a lot? Like, you must do this, you have to do this, you will do this. Taking credit for others' work and then giving blame to them, right? Blaming and shaming. How about just not being available, distant, removed, being physically big in confrontations with them, right? Just being angry or using an aggressive tone, body language that communicates any, impatience, frustration, etc., etc. Maybe just an absence of empathy. How about just announcing your power differential? Oh, I hate this so much. Because I'm the boss. Oh man, that boils my blood. How about telling people what they should think or what they should feel? Interrupting a lot, like over-functioning. The attitude of like, hey, only I can fix this, right? Micromanaging. All right, you get it. All of these are ways that would exaggerate the power differential and create fear in the environment. And so, again, back to moderating the power differential and creating psychological safety. Moderating our power differential is where we want to land. We don't want to eliminate it because we sometimes have to use our authority, and we don't want to exaggerate it because we harm the psychological safety and therefore the performance and engagement and morale of our team. So let me rattle off 8 quick ways in which you can moderate your power differential. Being generally positive and friendly. Let's start there, right? Being aware of how your body language is, the term and verbiage, being aware of how that might show up. How about just practicing humility, acknowledging your fallibility? How about making disagreeing and raising concerns part of the process, not the exception? How about listening in a way that makes people feel truly heard? Asking for input on your decisions and then using that input as much as possible. How about just being appreciative, right? Giving affirmation, saying thank you, acknowledging the good stuff. Empowering others, delegating, giving autonomy, giving trust. And lastly, ask for feedback and receive it non-defensively, which we've already talked about. Right? Make it clear that accountability flows both ways. So those are 8 ways to moderate the power differential, and I'm sure there's 8 times 100 more, but those are good places to start. If you can do those behaviors pretty well, when you do have to use your authority, it's going to show up less scary because you've built this relational bank account with people by practicing these healthy behaviors. So that was number 6 for our management radar. In order to increase psychological safety, I must manage my power differential. So those are the 6 game changers, folks. Those are the 6 game changers to put on your radar before you start work each day, right? To put on your radar as you're going through your morning routine. If you have these on your radar, it's going to go a long ways in being an awesome manager and building the teams we all want to have. So these 6 game changers in review are: to be an effective manager, I need to be growing as a human being. Number 2, morale really matters, and it's mostly my job. Number 3, great management involves demonstrating that I have my employees' best interests at heart. Number 4, managing people involves a specific set of deliverables, specifically the top 15 management skills. And number 5, adaptive skills are the most important skills. And 6, in order to increase psychological safety, I must manage my power differential. So there you have it. I encourage you to write these down, right? On a 4x4 note card, whatever, and keep these on your desk or wherever your place of work is, so you remember, if I can do these things, that's how I can improve performance and relationships and get all those cool things you can't pay for and you can't punish for with your employees. Now I'm going to leave you with this quote here from Gallup. A great manager improves lives while improving performance. A poor manager makes workers' lives miserable while destroying performance. Now, which are you going to be today? A great manager or a poor manager? This has been fun. As always, folks, tune in next time. And by the way, if you like our content, if you enjoy our content, if you'd like more of this type of stuff, I encourage you to sign up for a monthly newsletter. Again, just once a month. You can subscribe. You can unsubscribe easily if you think it totally sucks. But once a month, we put out articles that give more insights to helping you be an awesome manager. You can sign up for that newsletter by texting the word leading to 66866. Text the word leading to 66866. We'll see you next time, folks.